AquaBounty spent 35 years and nearly $400 million creating the world's first genetically modified animal approved for human food. Its salmon reached market size about twice as fast and used 25% less feed. The biology worked, but the containment required to keep the fish legal forced it into expensive indoor farms, while major retailers refused to sell it. By the end, 3 employees remained, and the companies buying AquaBounty's farms and patents wanted the steel tanks, hatcheries, and real estate, not the genetically modified fish. The answer lies in a collision between regulation, industrial physics, construction costs, and consumer rejection. The breakthrough survived. The business built to commercialize it did not. The breakthrough began in 1989 at Memorial University of Newfoundland. Canadian geneticists combined a growth hormone gene from Pacific Chinook salmon with a promoter from the ocean pout, an eel-like fish active in near-freezing water. That promoter acted as a biological switch that stayed on when Atlantic salmon normally slowed their winter growth. Conventional salmon needed 36 months to reach 4 to 5 kilograms. AquAdvantage reached the same weight in 16 to 18 months while consuming 25% less feed. 1 kilogram of feed produced 1 kilogram of fish, compared with chiller at 2 to 1 and pork at 3 to 1. On paper, it looked like a decisive production advantage. That advantage came with a costly condition. To address the Trojan gene effect, the risk that escaped fast-growing fish could outcompete endangered wild salmon for food and mates, AquaBounty's approval did not allow ocean net pens. Those pens are the cheap, proven model dominating global salmon farming because tides exchange water, supply oxygen, and remove waste for free. AquAdvantage instead had to remain in land-based recirculating aquaculture systems, or RAS, with 5 to 7 physical barriers between the tanks and the environment. These facilities recreate the ocean with massive concrete tanks, ammonia-filtering bioreactors, UV sterilization, and enough electricity to pump millions of gallons every hour. One approval condition turned a biotechnology company into a construction and industrial fish farming business. Reaching that approval had already consumed decades. AquaBounty opened its FDA file in 1995 when no framework existed and no genetically modified animal had been cleared for human consumption anywhere. The agency regulated the DNA construct as a new animal drug, forcing the company through a pharmaceutical-grade process designed for veterinary medicines. More than 25 studies covered molecular stability, allergenicity, and environmental risk. Approval arrived in November 2015, 20 years after the filing. A political rider from Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski then led to an import alert blocking Canadian-bred eggs until labeling rules were completed. It remained until March 2019, adding 4 more years of paralysis after approval. The direct regulatory bill reached $8.8 million, $6 million for approval work, $1.6 million defending lawsuits, and another $500,000 fighting congressional actions. The larger drain came from spending $3 million to $4 million each year on research and another $3 million to $4 million on corporate overhead. Those costs repeated year after year with no commercial income to offset them. Before one fish reached an American plate, AquaBounty's accumulated deficit had passed $148 million. Commercial harvests finally began in 2021, and the operating results exposed the problem. First-year salmon revenue was $1.17 million against $10.78 million in production costs, roughly $9 spent for every dollar earned. Second year produced $3.14 million in revenue and $13.63 million in costs. By year 3, output rose 14%, but revenue fell 21% to $2.47 million, while production costs exceeded $15 million. The company spent about $6 for every dollar of fish sold. Faster growth could not outrun indoor filtration and electricity, nor could the fish command the premium price that model required. 2 decades of delay gave environmental groups time to brand it Frankenfish. Their campaign bypassed the FDA and targeted the stores that would decide whether consumers ever encountered it. 80 grocery chains representing 18,000 locations joined preemptive boycotts. Costco, Kroger, Walmart, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Target, Sodexo, and Aramark all refused the product. The Quinault Indian Nation and Muckleshoot Tribe opposed corporate patenting of salmon as an attack on their identity as salmon people. Shut out of every premium shelf, AquaBounty moved unbranded fish through anonymous food service channels at rock-bottom commodity prices. Management answered those losses with one final attempt to achieve the scale its Indiana operation lacked. A pandemic-era equity raise supplied $119 million, which AquaBounty directed toward a 10,000 metric ton farm in Pioneer, Ohio. The 479,000 square foot facility initially carried a budget of $290 million to $320 million and was supposed to spread fixed RAS costs across far more fish. Construction began in April 2022, during the worst construction inflation in 40 years. By June 2023, the estimate had risen to $375 million to $395 million. In November, it reached $485 million to $495 million. Nearly $500 million. Work stopped at 30% completion after $145 million of investor equity had entered the concrete. The collapse became a fire sale that stripped the company of its operating assets and technology. In July 2024, Superior Fresh, a Wisconsin aquaponics operator, bought the Indiana farm for $9.5 million, below AquaBounty's original $14 million purchase price. The transaction period included a $44.5 million impairment charge, and Superior Fresh immediately announced it would raise only non-GMO salmon. 8 months later, Cook Aquaculture bought the Bay Fortune research site, Rollo Bay Hatchery, and every AquAdvantage patent and trademark, for net proceeds of $1.9 million. One of the world's largest conventional salmon producers, Cook said it had zero intention of farming genetically modified fish. Impairment charges reached $129.8 million in 2024 and another $14.4 million in 2025, writing off 30 years of research across 2 annual reports. By the first quarter of 2026, AquaBounty reported $441,000 in cash and cumulative losses of $389.4 million. The salmon still performed as designed, reaching market size in half the time on a quarter less feed. None of that could overcome the cost of recreating the ocean indoors, organized retail resistance, and the worst inflation in a generation. AquaBounty cracked the Atlantic salmon's genome, but its buyers ultimately valued steel tanks, hatcheries, and real estate more than the fish.